Let's talk about Tuor's journey from Vinyamar to Gondolin. And this is a part two of a video I'm doing on Tuor, one of my favorite heroes of men in Lord of the Rings. So go check it out if you haven't seen this one yet. But we left Tuor after he had escaped thraldom, and he is now an outlaw living in the area of Hithlum, the land of mist. And something has occurred. He has started to play his harp, and a sign from one of the powers of Middle Earth, with men considered gods. Ulmo, the Vala of Water, has given him a sign. Like a stream has started bubbling and flowing somewhere, and he follows it. And it leads him to like this dark cave. He's traveling for some time. And overall, he doesn't know where he is until he runs into two individuals, elves, Noldorin elves, who go by the name of Armanos and Gelmir. These two run into him and they find it strange that a man is here. And Tor tells him his quest. He's like, I'm looking for the gates of the Noldor. And they laugh at him because they're like, it's silly of you to even say that because you have already found it. You are standing in it as we speak. And they lead him through one of the first structures that the Noldor made when they landed in Beleriand in their exile from the Undying Lands. And this is where we hear about one of the more intriguing artifacts that come from the Undying Lands, from one of the greatest creators of all of Middle Earth, Feanor. Because, we hear about Feanor in the Silmarils a lot, but he also was the creator of the Palantiri as well as the Feanorian lamps. And they are these crystals that have captured this blue flame that these two elves are carrying on their quest. And what these two elves are actually doing out this far is that they are going to Nargothrond, I believe. And they are going to speak to Orodreth, the king there, about a message from Ulmo that they need to like not do what they're doing and they need to go into hiding or escape from this area. And that's just shot down completely by our friend, none other, the cousin of Tuor, Turin Turambar. But what ends up happening with Tuor, he goes, they part ways, the two elves and him. And the elves are like very taken aback because this dude is of the House of Hador. They have heard great things about them, that he has the favor of Ulmo. And not only that, they like tell him something, an elvish saying that only is meant for men. And it pretty much translates to, may the sun shine upon your path. And it's one of my favorite lines ever. It's Anard Koluva Tiliana. It's one of my favorite elvish phrases in all of Lord of the Rings. I just dig it so much because it's specifically for men. And what ends up happening is that Tor tarries from some time. He's going south and like he's exploring a lot. He's seeing different mountain ranges like Ered Lomin and Ered Wethrin, and he makes it all the way down. But eventually, seven swans start like terrorizing him. I'm not even kidding you. And he starts like being like, "What the hell? I should follow these birds. I don't know why. I have some calling in my heart." And he finally goes south, where he makes it into Nevras, the original dwelling of Turgon, the king of Gondolin. And it's there that he makes it all the way down to like the western part of Eredwethrine, where there is Mount Taras, because near this mountain is Vinyamar, the first realm of Turgon, his halls in Nevrast. And he sees the sea. He's one of the first men of the first age to ever see the Great Sea, the Belegar Sea, and he's taken aback by it. He says that smelling the air, like the salt water in the air, is like drinking a cool wine. He is enamored by it, and it calls to him for the rest of his life, actually. And up until this point, we see him get down, where, he's still following these swans to the point where these swans actually save him from being like taken out by the sea in a small ravine that he was following before. And he starts going down even further south, like southwest, until he comes across a great hall on the coast. And it's there that the seven swans lead him, and they sit on the terrace, like and on the roof, almost beckoning him to come, where he finds a lost road. And he marvels at one of the first creations of the Noldor in Beleriand when they first land here. And this hall of Turgon is like almost pristine, though there is like green moss and everything growing everywhere. It is ancient, it seems like, which is true. It's several hundred years old at this point in comparison to like when they first landed at the start of the Silmarillion. And what ends up happening is he enters this hall and it's dead silent. There is not a sound save the ringing of his steps. And he comes upon a dais where there is a stone seat with like strange elven runes carved into it, built into the very like rock of this fortress. And he sees in the back this array of armor that's been left there, which was left by Turgon when Ulmo told him to when they were like leaving. He was like, you need to leave this armor here for the savior from the sea is going to come and like, wear it and you'll know him. And it's like a hauberk, a sword, a shield, and I believe a spear and a helm. And it's all arrayed where like the shield is like a long tapered one with a swan on it. And what ends up happening is like he decks himself out and he steps out of Vinyamar. And the narrator's like, this is like Tuor looked like some guy, like greatest of lords of men, like almost comparable to those from the West. And the swans who are there like bow to him. They bow to Tuor. And they're like, they give him 7 feathers from them and he arrays them in his helmet. And thus Tuor feels great. He's filled with like, like not power, but like, you know, and I wouldn't say hubris. He's proud, but he feels like this great honor is placed upon him. And thus he walks down where he sees the ocean just like slamming into the coast. And he sees in this distance this roaring ocean as he goes down there. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Ulmo makes his appearance. And he's one of the few men to ever even speak to one of the Valar, these powers of Middle Earth, these gods that they see them as being men. They're not like the elves who lived, like, resided with them in the Undying Lands. And it's like he immediately knows to bow because Ulmo is decked out like a king. He's covered in like the great dweller in the deep. His like whole coat is like fish scale. His whole cloak in itself is like, something out of like the ocean where it's just like the flowing waves that you would see in a storm, where it's got a green flame within them. And thus, Ulmo speaks to Tord and he tells him, "You have tarried too long. You have sat there and you should have been here in the spring, and now it is winter and things are grave. Will you do as I command?" And Tuor says, "Yes, I will, my lord." And we could talk about what happens after this because this is where Tuor starts his 38-day journey to go to Gondolin. And he meets a lot of individuals there, but mostly he meets his close friend, Varanwe, the son of Varanwe. So stick around, we'll talk about that in another video.